Meeting for the Los Alamitos Unified School District. We had on closed session, but we have nothing to report out because no action was taken. We will start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, but after the Pledge of Allegiance, I ask that everyone to remain standing because we're going to have a moment of silence for a employee who passed away, Tali Valencia. So in order for our Pledge of Allegiance, I'm asking Joseph Claypool to lead it for us.
Okay. Will you stand for the pledge, please? Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the moment of silence. Thank you. Before we begin, I would like to say that we asked to have that moment of silence to remember Tali Valencia, who was a beloved member of the Los Al USD family who passed away this past week. Tali had been dedicated for almost 25 years working as an instructional aide with students across the district. She also has a child who attends Los Al High School, and we ask that you keep Tali's family and the loved ones in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Okay, now we're all the way to our summary of our workshops. Mrs. Schnur.
Thank you, Madam President. We had the privilege of having Mr. C.J. Nolan, our Facilities Maintenance and Operations Director. He provided a workshop to the board and provided an update on all of our facilities that are happening primarily at the high school. He presented an update on the gymnasium, the 3-core gymnasium, and the classroom renovations, any updates that we did through a PAC, a roofing replacement, and he also provided an update on our future projects that we're anticipating completing throughout this year and maybe potentially during the summer. So it was a great presentation.
Yeah, it was. Thank you very much. All I can say is that things are busy all over the entire district, and the gym is supposed to be finished June of 25.
Summer of 2025.
Summer. Oh, you want summer?
We do.
Okay, that's the 21st of June. And I'm thinking most of the ASB kids are probably seniors, and they're not really thrilled with that announcement. Anyway, okay, I am now going to go on to my president's report. Okay, what I'm basically going to be talking about is the start of school, which was fantastic across the entire district. Many of us who are sitting at this table were able to go to the different school sites the first day of school, welcome parents, because they were the ones who were most excited, I think, and students returning to their school sites. We've also had back to school nights. We have had them at, a couple of our board members are there. We've had them at Weaver, who had started like a couple of weeks before, and also at Hopkinson. And coming up, tomorrow night, the high school is going to have their back to school night. And then the other 4 schools, McGaw, LAE, McAuliffe, and Oak, are going to be having them on those respective days that are on the screen there. The only other thing that I really want to talk about is how when Los Al starts, we hit the ground running. And this is, if you are watching this at home, you may want to copy some of these dates down. We already have football games scheduled. The choir has a show coming. Drama has a show coming. And Oak Middle School Improv has a show coming up. We only put in the dates for basically our athletics and arts programs through October, because otherwise I would need like 10 slides to go all the way up until the end of the first semester. I am going to kind of do a shout out that in the beginning of November, the dance program at the high school is having a show too. So if you don't want to drive into LA or to Singerman Center down in Orange County, I suggest you come to our high school for your arts program. And the football games are fabulous. I know a lot of us went to the game last Friday. It was a blowout by the right people. So it was, yeah, it's much easier to watch a blowout when you're on the high end of the score. So there's just so much happening, and I just love how we start and we don't waste any time. And now I'm going to do the part of what do board members do. I just want to really quickly tag on to what Dr. Pulver had said at the last meeting about our goals and our governance handbooks that we go through every year. And it is a meeting that all the board members attend with Dr. Pulver, and we really look at where we want Los Alamitos Unified District, where we're going to go. And I've had people say to me, your goals don't change, but they really do. There's subtle changes, but if you're an educational institution, your first goal should be being incredible at educating pupils, students. And that's pretty much what our goal is, but sometimes we'll be bringing in more like mental health issues, or we'll be going through walk reviews, or we'll be getting new textbooks or something, so we will change them. When we passed our bonds and we were starting to get our facility money, we moved the importance of watching all of our dollars up a little higher because we were going to be spending large quantities of money. But it is something that is really good that we get together as a governance team and pretty much say, this is what is important, this is what we're all working towards. And then our governance handbook is basically a little handbook that talks about how we're going to treat one another. How do you act as a board member? I frequently have said to Dr. Pulver, like I'll see him at something that's late, and I know this is fourth night in his row or he's doing something late. I'll say 20% of your boss tells you to go home and get some rest. And whether he does or not isn't because I told him to, but you're only 20% of any decision. And so it's really important that any board, not just our board here, but any board has trust in one another, you listen to one another, and you know how to communicate with one another. So it's not like I'm ever going to send an email to just Marlis and not somebody else so that she knows something that no one else knows. That is just not effective governance. And we discuss this every year to make sure that we know what we're doing. And with all the new technology, all sorts of different rules have come up. There is a law called the Brown Act that is legally coded in law from the state of California on how boards and councils are supposed to act. And it changes because the way we communicate changes. So that is what we do. And I think, yeah, that I'm ready to hand this over now. And I will give this to Joseph.
Good evening, Madam President Catulli, esteemed board members, Dr. Pulver, any community members watching in person or online, and supporters, including my mother and ASB peers. My name is Joseph Claypool, and I will be your new student representative to the Board of Education from Los Alamitos High School. I originally joined ASB in order to contribute to the positive environment they bring to our high school campus. When applying for ASB, I noticed that I had the chance to spread this positively outside the high school to our great Board of Education and all of our viewers on YouTube. I'm so excited to be here and present to you all my first board report. Next, I know that many of you remember that our fantastic student rep last year, Joelle Kaiser, highlighted me in her final board report, so let me apologize in advance for some repetitive info. In my life, I've bounced around all over the world, but I've ultimately ended up here in Los Alamitos, and let's just say I hit the jackpot. I started my journey as a Husky and future Griffin in 5th grade, where I attended Hopkinton Elementary. Then I roared on in middle school as an Oak Lion, even if my mouth was covered with a mask. Today, I stand here before you all as a proud Griffin in my final year in this great district. During my time in high school, I participated in a multitude of arts, activities, academics, and athletics. I had the privilege to play for our Sunset League champ soccer team for a couple years, help guide student-organized clubs such as the Los Al Pickleball Club and Kindness Club. Outside of school, I assisted in managing our local UPS store right here on Catella Avenue, and I hang out with my friends and family in my free time. Although I have fun outside of school, I strongly believe that the warm community Los Al and ASB have developed has been key in placing me on my path to the future. From ASB camp to the first couple weeks of school, I've had so much fun with my fellow ASB classmates, Ms. Schenecker and Mrs. Berger. Mrs. Shanaker's energy and sense of inclusivity have allowed me to already form a deep connection with every single person at ASB. Having Mr. Berger as an activities director feels like a metaphor for a full circle experience in this district, as he was my 7th grade intro to algebra teacher, where he was the same then as the type of person you felt comfortable talking to about academics or life in general. It is a reminder to me of the people I have crossed paths with for this great district that has helped shape where I am today. And I'm grateful to be in a class and in a position to give back to the people who are following behind me as well. Without further ado, let me present to you all the activities, academics, athletics, arts, and our student life and our fabulous student spotlight that make Los Alamitos High School a place all wish to attend. This year, we decided to switch things up and have our traditional back-to-school dance in our gym. ASB was committed to advertising the dance by creating short, popular videos on social media and announcing the gym in separate classes outside of ASB. Because of the unique lighting of the gym, we decided that neon would be a great theme since students could pop out with their bright colors. We were even able to host DJ Ty from iHeartRadio, who got the dance floor started up. Besides the dance itself, there were tons of games outside to play, such as Connect 4, Cornhole, and even a photo station for students. I myself was able to connect with a few freshmen and teach them some traditional cheers and dances we love to do here at Los Al. The dances are always a great introduction to the fun, energetic atmosphere Los Alamitos brings. Next, academics. To start the year, our science department has been hard at work at providing engaging activities and experiments for our students to participate in. As a student myself, my vision for the first week of school is having a science class with some experiments or maybe possible explosions. The first 3 pictures on the left capture Mr. Jones's first period AP chemistry class during a lab called A Study in Blue. In this lab, students had to use their prior knowledge of chemistry and dilute their solutions to a specific concentration level. The students then had to match their samples to an unknown sample by using a spectrophotometer, which is basically a machine that calculates how much light passes through a specific solution. On the right side of the slide, students in Mr. Harmon's AP physics class needed to calculate the height of the PAC without ever touching the PAC. The students decided to take specific measurements of certain items and then use trigonometry to find an estimated height of the PAC. These experiments give students an initial taste of real-world application in the scientific community. Last year, many other districts, including our own, created a competitive girls' flag football team. It is commonly referenced as the fastest-growing sport in high school athletics. Staying true to that, the popularity of this sport has taken off on our own campus. During tryouts, coaches had to decide between 100 girls, where many of them play competitive flag football for clubs outside of Los Al. Because of this, players, coaches, and staff have expanded the team's capacity to incorporate 3 separate levels for teams for the program. This includes 2 JV teams and a varsity team, all with 20 girls on each team, and a total of 60 athletes for the program. The head coach of the program is Coach Bell, a favorite on campus, a substitute teacher who has already led his team in games against other high schools such as Kennedy, Millikan, and even Newport Harbor. To prepare for the games, the girls endured intense training in the summer heat where they must practice running routes, defensive positioning, and some schemes. We're looking forward to watching and supporting this team and program as it continues to grow. Over the summer, Los Al has undergone a considerable amount of change and reconstruction, most easily seen with a new gymnasium, of course. Many classrooms have had upgrades, and at the same time, workers have been able to rebuild and construct an expanded art gallery for both teachers and students to showcase their artistic abilities. Before the expansion, it would be challenging to showcase all the physical and digital art Los Al had to exhibit. However, the addition of another room allows any visitor to see the full breadth of various artworks at the Griffin Gallery at any time. The 6 teachers in the Performing Arts Department have all commented on how they love the new addition and upgrade. 3D design, ceramics, digital art, photography, and last but not least, drawing and painting will now be able to display the creativity of their work during our upcoming back-to-school night. Tomorrow night, the gallery will showcase art from students and our teachers in a way that we have never been able to see on campus before. Of course, student life. The first day of school finally came around for our Griffins, and they were pumped to be back. ASB made sure to be there early to hand out donuts, advertise the dance, and hype up our students for the first day of school. At the same time, ASB also wore their polos, just like right now, on the first day to let students and staff know who we are. There was a goal from us this year to reach as many students as possible, so it was great for our own teachers and fellow classmates to see us as a resource for any questions or help they might want or need to start the year. Back to school means back to school shopping, and so the first day of school is a common opportunity for students to go all out on their outfits. Students enjoy matching with their friends on the first day of school, or will even post something on social media to highlight their style. For example, a few of my friends and I have decided that every Friday will be Footy Friday, where we all wear our favorite soccer jerseys to school. Transitioning back to school life is definitely a transition from our summer schedules, but students are excited to be back on campus with their friends and having fun. Of course, last but not least, our student spotlight. Lastly, I would like to highlight a senior who has balanced in all aspects of her life, Kennedy Bowe. She started out as an Oak Lion, where she spent all 3 years of her middle school before moving on to become a Griffin. In school, Kennedy is committed to a multitude of both academics and athletics. She's a stellar student and has been a part of track and field as both a sprinter and thrower. Beyond that, Kennedy has an exciting school spirit and loves to participate in school events, specifically the dances such as prom and formal. Outside of school, Kennedy loves to play for her club soccer team. Oh, and did I not mention that Kennedy is a star for our girls' flag football team? Kennedy has described how football has always been a center of her life and how her father specifically, Coach Bowe, has been instrumental in supporting her to play flag football. Playing with friends and experiencing flag football with them was never something she had expected, but has been her most cherished moment thus far. She knows that although college is right around the corner, it will be fun to play with her friends for one more season. And with that, it has time to come to a close. Thank you all for joining for my first board meeting. And just let me know if you have any further questions.
Okay, Mrs. Hill?
Thank you. I loved your structure, and I loved how you structured it and showed so much diversity at our school, and great job. And I didn't even hear you breathing. So, that was really good. Thank you very much, Joseph.
Okay. Yeah, I want to say this is the reason why I always give my report before the student rep gives their report, because I'm not stupid. And neither is Dr. Pulver, whose report is up next. But really, seriously, Joseph, great job. You knocked it out of the park. And it is a highlight of our board meeting to hear from you. And so I know that we'll have some wonderful reports coming in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, Joseph, I think you did an excellent job. I always have the difficult task of following our amazing student board rep. One down, excellent job, and really just a big shout out to our ASB students. Yeah. I think that's the powerful thing about being in Los Al is really you never have to be alone. You always have a team of individuals who come together to support you and to see our ASB kids, Mrs. Shanager and Mr. Berger coming out to just support all of our ASB students, I think is phenomenal. So, so tonight I want to, and I also, by the way, in terms of the diversity of the slides, I loved really the focus on the 4 A's and the academics. So I might have to have you use some of those words again. It's been a while since I taught science, but I do think a good first day of school is if you blow up or have a little spark or something in a science room. So I thought I would start my superintendent's report tonight really centered on 2 areas where I've probably heard from different families in their community in different topics. And so really the first one, and this is some of it was started hearing from some family members over the summer before school had started, just a couple, maybe a week or so before, maybe a little sooner, and even still into now. And one of them, the first one really happens to be hearing from members of our Jewish community and family members who have hurt and really feel some distress over the fact that Taste for LoSal happens to be scheduled on the same day as Yom Kippur. And it's been, as I've been able to talk with members of our community, it's confusing. Many people think that Taste for LoSal is a district event. It is not a district event. It is not an event that is under our control. We are not consulted with what the date is or how they host it. It's not hosted on district property, but it is a nonprofit who really is, over the number of years, have come together to support this community in a number of ways and to really support many of our booster and athletic programs and help aiding some of the fundraising efforts that they do in an engaging way. And so it gets difficult, but it's really hosted by a nonprofit board called Our LoSal. And Larry Strother is head of that. And what I really appreciate when these conversations have occurred is Larry Strother has really acknowledged as well to every single individual who's requested and has made it very clear that this is not a district event. This is not something that they have any decision on. And he really has owned that, and I appreciate that a great deal. But for our families who are in the Jewish community, I also know that this has caused some distress. And so I simply really want to be able to express my apologies to our Jewish students, families, and community for the hurt and distress that maybe this decision that has been made of the scheduling on the same day in alignment with Yom Kippur, which really is a sacred Jewish holiday. I know I understand the significance of this day in the Jewish faith and recognize the pain and exclusion it has caused within our Jewish community. And as I stated earlier, while it's not a district event, it is confusing to our community. It's organized by Our LoSal, but we do understand the impact and hurt that it's caused. And I just really wanted to also add that really as a school district, we continue to want to be committed to fostering an inclusive environment where every member of our community feels respected and valued. And for our Jewish families, I want them to know that they're an integral part of our LoSal family. We deeply value their contributions to our community. We're committed to creating an environment where students and families feel welcome, respected, and included. I know, Mrs. Kutula, she talked about the performing arts schedule and our athletic schedules when we create our VAPA calendars. Ed Services, our Deputy Superintendent Reed, really monitors the dates that our groups select. We do avoid scheduling events on high holy days of our religious communities, and Yom Kippur is definitely one of them that we avoid. And a lot of that work really came out when we had during our Human Relations Task Force several years ago. That was some of the things that we heard from our community. And so we did really step up and have a vested to make a difference on programs and where we host. So I just wanted to share that. And I know I've been able to talk with various families, and they've appreciated, I think, now understanding that it's not a district event. And I also appreciate that Larry and Our LoSal has taken ownership of that as well. And there are complex reasons that they would share of why the date really couldn't be changed. But nevertheless, the impact for some of our members in the Jewish community do feel hurt, and I wanted to apologize for that because I know how that can feel. And then the other area that I've been hearing from parents probably before school started and even still is this community never has the same opinion on one thing. We represent diverse opinions in our district. And I've heard from different parents who have really advocated or regarding the district banning cell phones on our campuses. And then I've heard from parents who say, hey, I'm the parent. This should be a parent decision. This is a parent right. This really isn't a school right. And so, we have diverse opinions within our community that I think is as important to acknowledge. But I think also people may not be really clear what our cell phone policies are on our campuses. They are readily available. In all of our schools have a parent-student handbook, and you can go directly to the parent-student handbook on any of your campuses and really see. As a district, we have restricted cell phone uses on our campuses for student use. well before we started hearing the governor and the legislature entertain whether they were going to do a quote unquote ban. I think ban becomes a word that can be really, depends how you define the word ban, I think. And so I thought I would just share a little bit about where our cell phone restrictions are by level. And consistently across our elementary and middle school campuses, they really are consistent in terms of restricting cell phone use. And this has been for numerous years. At the elementary and middle schools, you know, we say students, I guess you can have it, but we shouldn't see or hear it. Basically, is kind of what we say, is they really need to be, they cannot be used during school hours. So as soon as you come onto our campus to until you leave, your cell phones or smartwatches, wearable devices that have the ability to get text and access to social media, et cetera, should be turned off. And then if they're seen, it varies at school sites and things, but even at our middle schools, you know, sometimes they're given a warning, they're given a detention, and then it escalates up. And so this is a restriction that we've had for numerous years at K-8. I don't know if we use the word ban, but it's been restricted on our campuses. And what even some of our elementary schools have embarked upon this year, this happens to be Weaver, the principal at Weaver, had a whole message to all families at back to school night on a myriad of things where he recorded himself. But at Weaver Elementary, they have these cell phone smartwatch holders that they put in all the classrooms. And if a student has a smartphone or a watch, they're asked to be able to put that in that little cell phone pocket holder while they're in this classroom. And then when they're ready to leave for the school day, they can pick it back up. And so that has and continues to be our policy K-8. And at the middle school, at the high school, it's largely similar, but there are some subtle nuances that are different. And again, this has been our cell phone restrictions for numerous years, probably almost 10 plus. But students are not permitted to use electronic devices, cell phones, headphones, earbuds during the regular school day, which starts at 8:30 a.m. and ends at 3:17, except, so here's where they're different. They do allow students to be able to use cell phones during passing periods, at nutrition, and at lunchtime. But you will see many of our classroom teachers at Los Alamitos High School, sometimes the students call it cell phone jail. They'll have these pocket charts that they'll put into their classroom, and the teacher will have the students and their numbers, so that if I'm the first number one student, then I know my device is in pocket one. But devices are expected to be turned off and out of sight while in class at the high school. However, unless it's permitted by the teacher for academic use, I know I've heard sometimes even in the art classes they might use, and headphones and earbuds should be taken off before entering the classroom. And some teachers do let students listen to music as they're typing with it within their Chromebook, but that should be with teacher permission during that process. So with that, the other thing that I think is really important, I want to thank our Director of Safety and Student Services. Dr. Jerry Freeman has also for several years really tried to provide education to parents, because I think that's really important. It can't just be how we restrict cell phone use and tech use, but it's really about various parent education nights and student assemblies. And so this year, we've used, I think his name was the cyber security cop, Mr. Clay Crafton, I think, has done parent education and student assemblies for several years for us. And Dr. Freeman had gotten another suggestion from some individuals, particularly school districts in South Orange County, who use Dino Ambrose, who's done some great parent education nights. And so Dr. Freeman secured that we're having a parent ed night. It's actually coming up on September 12th. And so we're going to be advertising this out to our families from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And it's really a 60-minute presentation for parents with a 30-minute Q&A, and really covering a variety of topics. But Dino is a social entrepreneur. He's helped over 100 UC Berkeley students reduce their screen time by average by 3.5 hours. He's spoken to over 20,000 students and parents, has done a TED Talk, And so I really would encourage, because I think it's important for parents, and I know parents also are reading another book out there that is enlightening about the use of social media and how much screen time that individuals have. But this Parent at Night is going to really be focusing on tips for modeling what are healthy tech habits, trying to teach parents that so that they are the primary educators for their kids. Keys to productive conversations about screen time, what is the appropriate amount of screen time, the types of screen time that they're using, how to help, as parents, how to help kids navigate the online world, because it's different, and sometimes just because it's something that's on a digital space, it doesn't mean it's accurate or it's true, et cetera, and how to act safely as well. There's a lot of things out there that people try to take advantage of individuals. And then really about advice on setting tech boundaries in the household. And so how do you navigate that through a parent lens? And I'm pleased to say that not only will Dino be presenting to our parents, we'll also be doing student assemblies at our 2 middle schools and at Los Alamitos high schools for grades 6-12. And those assemblies really are going to be kind of focusing in on the impact that excessive tech use has on attention, on mood, on resilience, on self-perception, why the answer to unhealthy tech use is intention and not abstinence. Tech use, we have to, in order to be successful in this, in beyond, to thrive in this environment, you have to be able to know how to use technology. So it's not an abstinence of technology. It really is being thoughtfully and intentional about how and why and when you use it. And then what can be done to transform peer pressure to be on social media into supporting its use more intentionally. And he will also cover within the assembly really tangible and practical guidance to set and adhere to informed intentions for tech use. So he will be coming out to our secondary schools and providing these student assemblies within the September, October. I know they're scheduled with each site. So it's also a multi-pronged approach, having restrictions, but also really parent education. And I guess in summary, what I would share is that as a district we have, and we really continue to proactively restrict cell phone use on campuses. We recognize that it is complex, it's multi-layered, concerns surrounding technology in schools. Our approach has been and continues to be not just enforcing restrictions at the district, but also really engaging in parent education and student assemblies to ensure our families and students are informed about the responsible technology use. And then I would say we've been doing this even before some recent state initiatives or things that we've been hearing within across the state, that we've had systems in place to support families in navigating these challenges. But I will say, we understand there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Like I said earlier, I've heard from different parents with differing views on how they think schools should approach the use of cell phones or not, and should they be restricted, and what rights do parents have, and then parents who really believe the impacts that it's having on social media and the social mental health of students as well. And so I just want to remind, we're not handing out cell phones as a district to our students. They really are coming from the homes. And so this has to also be something that parents and their guardians have to take an active role and make decisions on. And so we hear this in our community with people who want us to do one thing, and then, well, what about the rights that I have as a parent as well, and parent rights? And so it's nuanced. And like I said, we're not handing out cell phones to kids. So it really does have to really come as well from home, being able to really put the guidance and either the restrictions, the guidance, the input that they would think is best for their kids on top of the layers that we're doing as well. So I just thought I'd share that, because I think sometimes people aren't aware, and those are two topics that I've probably heard the most from parents within the past as school was getting up and started, and I thought it'd be important to focus my report tonight and kind of addressing some of those two big concerns across the community. And that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Pulver. We're now on to board member communication. I'm going to start with Mrs. Hill. I know, I usually, yeah. I just have to keep you on your toes. Diane.
Thank you. Well, it is an honor to be the one that gets to start, and it has been an amazing back to school. And I had the opportunity to go to Rossmore's first day and then also back to school night, and just really enjoyed getting to see and connect with parents. Is the excitement. You can just feel the excitement on campus from the students being there, from the parents saying, yes, they're back in school, but also on the learning opportunities and the opportunities that these students are going to have going through the year. I loved walking through a couple of classrooms and talking about the different field trips that would be happening and the different courses of study. And so it just is a very joyful time. And speaking of joyful, we really had our welcome back to school breakfast with the whole district. And a good part of that theme really was being joyful. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate that uplift to start the school year out with. We also we were joyful in celebrating Dr. Pulver's birthday about a week ago. So that was a great opportunity as well. And then I really was so almost tearful to go to our first football game and to go to it on our field. And we don't get a lot of opportunity to do that because we have such a big draw, which is a great thing. But just an extraordinary job was done by Ed Services and by the high school and activities and everybody who came together to make that just a really special first night of the season for us. And so I'm very, very appreciative of that, and was even with a little excitement with the lights going out and then putting it back on. And so, but I think that a lot of that ties when we look back at our goals and our core values of what we want for our students and how we want them to be able to connect. And I really felt a great connection there. So, and then I will say I got to do something kind of fun my husband does every year for Rossmore Highlands. He does an ice cream truck the last day before at 3:00, the day before school starts. And that came from a tradition of us taking our boys to ice cream the last night before school started every year. So that was it was not, and I got an ice cream. So that was all good. Thank you very much, Mrs. Catulli.
Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Okay, Mr. Forehand.
Yes, we have a theme here going tonight about the first days of school, but even as a long-term educator, I still enjoyed my 52nd first day of school. And I've concluded, based on 52 first days, that no one does it like Los Al. From pre-first day activities like the TKK meet and greets, the popsicle parties to find out who's my teacher, middle school 6th grade welcome events, high school link crew welcome 9th graders, 9th grade parent night at the high school. And behind all these events are a staff that give the extras and huge PTA support from them as well. Then you get to the first day of school, and the events are even extras and huge PTA support with all of us being at the gates with Dr. Pulver and staff welcoming the kids back, and then seeing stuff like senior sunrise, choir events in the park, building teams. I even walked out the pier on last Saturday, I think it was, and there's the cross-country team having an event, just getting to know each other. Band camps, dance camps, ice cream socials, movie nights, and who wouldn't want to start high school without getting a donut as you walk through the first day? Now we're into back to school nights, and they're all crowded to the max. We have cafeteria staff that is patiently helping our TK and Ks learn their lunch numbers. And again, no one does it all like Los Al. And in the visits to the classrooms, Ms. Catulli and I were at Oak, And it's so great to be able to go to the schools and visit because we learned all about Prop 28,
Yes.
the art money, and how they were doing it. And it just makes it our job come to life. And I want to finish like I always do with a student, because this reflects our district. And I was helping with the first days of the lunch line at Lee, which is no easy task. But this kid caught my eye, this first grader, and he had a UCLA hat on. And if you don't know, I'm a huge UCLA graduate fan. And I started talking to him. And the other first graders looked up at me and said, he's new and he doesn't speak English. He only speaks Chinese. But it was what the kids said after that that has stuck with me. They said, but we are helping him learn English and adjust to our class. They didn't use the word adjust, but learn to come to Lee School and enjoy it. And as we move in September to Just Say Hello events, this one stuck in my mind because they were just saying hello to somebody from another country. So thank you.
Good. Okay. Mrs. Davidson?
So we are all kind of addressing things in this from the same events, but first I want to say welcome, Joseph. You really will be giving the report everybody looks forward to and nobody wants to follow. So, and thank you all for being here to support him. What an organization, what a group. So that's really wonderful. I'm going to approach it a little bit differently in that we talk a lot about the events from your perspectives and the kids, but the other perspective is how hard it is sometimes for moms and dads to let go, especially in transition. So we have had opportunities over the last few days to see how parents transition to high school, how middle school parents or elementary parents transition to middle school, and most terrified of all, young parents who look about your age transition to TK and kindergarten. So there have been some incredible highlights. And the first one I wanted to look at was the high school 9th grade orientation night for families. Your principal, Mrs. Krause, welcomed and spoke to a packed performing arts center at the high school, followed by our assistant principals and your wonderful activities and ASB advisors who actually were the hit of the evening. They brought the most energy, biggest smile. You could just tell that they have a passion for fun. So you guys are very fortunate. Every one of those amazing individuals we want to thank because they explained their roles. And you could take one person, one assistant principal, and look at a whole chart of jobs that he or she has. And so we deeply appreciate what they have to offer. And they encouraged parents by letting them know where they could go for help in what particular area and which person was in charge of it. So you could just see kind of like the tension start to loosen up because parents are really terrified of high school, you know. They're terrified you're going to go wild and crazy on them. But so you could just see the tension release in the PAC, and you could see them start to smile and feel good about what was going to happen in your lives over the next 4 years. I did see quite a number of incoming 9th grade kids on cell phones because I think it was a lot less interesting to them, but it was helpful to the parents. And then in between that, the middle schools both had kickoff nights with food trucks and activities and choir and music, and all those little 6th graders running around trying to figure out how to open their lockers. You remember that? I taught at McCullough for 25 years, and every 6th grader thinks we gave them a broken lock the first day of school. And they're all terrified. I mean, they start running. I was at the corner the other day. They start running from LAE because they're terrified the bell's going to ring and they're going to get a detention. They don't know what a detention is, but they know it's not good. So, but on the opposite end, the TK kindergarten at Hopkinson had a crowd of parents with that same look of uncertainty as they walked through the door. It took just probably 5 minutes before Jason Farver, who used to teach at the high school and was an assistant principal and is now the principal of the Hopkinson Huskies, had them laughing, celebrating, talking to each other, and really looking forward to what their little ones were going to be doing. There was a level of trust you could see developing as each teacher got up and welcomed the parents, and then they, like their kids will do, got in a little line and followed the teacher to the classroom so that they could hear more. Our staff at every level wants parents to know not only about the great educational experience their children have ahead of them, but they also want parents to know how deeply the teachers and staff and administration care about the happiness and well-being of every child, including all of you. So I really want to thank all those administrators, teachers, staff that put this beginning of a year together and embraced families who are probably a whole lot more terrified than you are. And I want to thank Andrew and the cabinet for staging the most exceptional welcome back to school breakfast presentation for our staff and teachers and administrators. They too need to know how special and wonderful they are. And it was and Mrs. Hill was right. Our guest speaker spoke about the importance of wellness and joy for every person on the campus, and it was energizing and uplifting. We're aware of the challenges of being in a district and community that strives for the very best for our children. We know that our administrators, teachers, and staff set high bars for themselves, and that can be incredibly stressful. There can be no greater purpose than to care for and educate those of you who are going to be our future. We hope that that all of our staff take to heart the message that they too should be seeking out the joy and the happiness, and that each one of us needs to look out for the well-being of one another. I'd sort of like to thank LaSalle and Coach Fenton and the football team for the other night, but there's like a little bit of conflict because I went to Western, and if you were there at the game, it didn't go well for the Pioneers. For a tiny bit of history, before LaSalle was built, anyone living in Rossmore and Los Alamitos was bused to Western High School in Anaheim by Knott's Berry Farm. That's where we went to high school. And I went to the very last class, the class of '69. I am very old. And my sister got to be in the second graduating class for LaSalle. So back then, we've had a tradition going. We always are rotten in football. So it went on. Would I have liked, I was cheering for the Griffins. I have liked a little bit more of a 7-6 score than what was a 71-0 score. But it was still wonderful seeing all of you out there celebrating. Lastly, I want to thank Dr. Pulver for your presentation on cell phones. I think there is a lot of understanding, a lack of understanding and uncertainty in our community. You did a wonderful job. Thank you to all the parents and community members who've reached out to us about this issue. For the last 6 years, social emotional well-being of our students has been top of our list. While cell phones and screen time may have their benefits, we are with you on determining their purposes for all of our children and for ourselves. So with that, I just want to say thank you, wish you a wonderful start of a new year, and I look forward to tomorrow night at your back to school night, because all of you always make it special. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stason. Mr. Fayette.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to start. Joseph, you did a fantastic job. Way to go. I know it's probably more intimidating to give a speech in front of all your friends than looking at us up at the board, but that's a good-looking group. Only thing I have to say is, white shirt, I'm not allowed to wear anything white because it becomes instantly dirty. How many of you guys, I bet you that guy in the end already has a stain on his shirt. So, it's true. I know, that's why they're all laughing. Reiterate, I agree. We do a lot of the same things. This is an incredible district. I just want to point out, if you have the time and it's worth your effort to make it to the drama show, the choir show, the dance. I'm really looking forward to the back to school night tomorrow night at the high school to see the new art studio. I think it's going to be real impressive with that brand new room. Outside of that, I just want to say good luck, try your best, and enjoy your year with us at LaSalle. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fayette. I'm not going to repeat what everybody else said, because we tend to go as a group to things. But one of my adjunct duties is that I'm on the board for the North Orange County Regional Occupation Program, which is a career technical ed consortium of 5 school districts. And so I have a real quick report on that meeting. Our first responders, the paramedic and that fabulous mock ambulance that we have in that room. Well, that particular class is going to be what they call a regional class, which means that students from other high schools, where there's Brea, Placentia, Yorba Linda, Fullerton, LaSalle, and Anaheim. We're in a consortium together. And if those kids can get themselves there, we have opened a 6th period class so that they can come from all over within our consortium area, because it's such a fantastic program. So I was really happy that we get to share it a little. And also ROP had a report on their summer sessions, and I just really wanted to share what they did. They had over 500 students in the patient care pathway, and within these 500 students, they did internships either at facilities, and also we work with a lab, and we use our students there so they can have internships there. But I thought it was 500 kids. That's unbelievable. We also had a wildfire internship. I think we had 7 kids from LaSalle that were in that one, which was having to do with the fire science part of it. We had careers in AI, we had digital arts, and this is the one that I keep saying I want to figure out how we can bring it to LaSalle, and it's a geography in one class and how you get a person there and all that kind of stuff, but it's drone exploration. I mean, seriously, we had a drone presentation when we were looking at our facilities, and they showed the new gym from up above, which still looked confusing because it's in pieces, but it was just, it's so interesting. I keep thinking this is something that is a job of the future.
And Leif this year is doing some drone classes. Leif is piloting some drone, some other STEM classes.
Yeah, so I mean,
piloted at some of our elementary schools.
Yeah, in order to like really fly a drone, other drone designated areas, you have to have a certificate from the FAA. So, who knew? Anyway, I'm now going to go into something that is fairly personal that I do want to share with the community. It has been my honor to serve on the Board of Education for LaSalle Unified School District for 24 years. I deeply appreciate the support the community has shown in electing and re-electing me to this position. But now is my time in my life to step down from the board. Our district is in a great place. 100% graduation rate for 2 years. That is such a testament to the excellence of our K-12 education. And I just love the fact that that means all of our students are succeeding. And LaSalle will continue to work to improve the education of all of our students, because that's what LaSalle does. I want to thank everyone in the community for giving me this opportunity. I poured my heart, energy, and brain into the goal of doing what was best for the kids. It's been quite a journey, and I feel so fortunate that I have been able to do it. And one other comment on election info is that we are obviously having an election this coming November for the school boards. And one of our school board member, Chris Forhan, who happens to be sitting next to me, and his trustee area is basically Rossmore, a little bit of Leisure World and things like that. He is up for a re-election, but he is not running a campaign, nor will he be on the ballot. The reason for this is that he was the only person who pulled papers and then filed them to show that he was serious enough that this was a position that he wanted to have and that he wanted to run for. And according to the Registrar of Voters of Orange County, if no one is opposing you, then you are automatically elected. It isn't a decision that the board made. It is not a decision the Department of Ed made. It's not a decision, although Chris may have made this decision. It is a decision according to the code and the laws that and govern how we elect officials. So I would like to congratulate Chris and say anybody who run against you isn't full, but I'm really happy to say that he will be with us for another 4 years, but it is according to the rules from the Orange County Registrar of Voters Office. Oh, thank you, you're very welcome. Yep.
Ms. Catuli, I just want to clarify.
Okay, I didn't clarify enough?
Yeah, you are not stepping down as of tonight.
No, no.
As a board
no,
member.
November
You're just
19th, so
have
who's
chosen
counting?
not to run again for a new term. So your term will end at the board meeting in November. We'll have lots of opportunities then to be able to give you accolades and to share our deep appreciation
It
for
will
the
only
24
embarrass
years.
me.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the whole
That's gonna be
point.
our purpose.
Yeah, that's the
But-
goal. Well,
But
you
you're gonna
guys
be
will
with us
achieve it.
through November. You're not stepping down.
Yeah, well, anyway, no, but I wanted, because I should really also thank so many community members who have, from texting me and emailing me to literally knocking on my door, are you running? To find out if I were running again, because they were going to support me again. And so I really, the show of love just really got to me. So I just kind of wanted to officially say, no, I'm not running. I'm at the point in my life where I really want to have fun. And this is fun, but it's restrictive fun because you have board meetings and stuff to do. And I want to be able to like go to Fiji. So yeah, that's one of the things we're planning. So yeah, it will be a while, but yeah, this is it. So now what I want to say is that we're getting on to, this is for the ASB people, we are getting on, and Joseph, you should pay attention to this too. We are getting to what I refer to as the business portion of our board meeting, where we approve contracts, we look at the warrants, and we do all the things that we have to do to legally run our school district. And so if the ASB students would just as soon go home and study really hard off their cell phones, that would be perfectly fine with us. We would not feel slighted.
Could
and
we-
Joseph, the same thing for you if you want to take a picture.
Mrs. Our extraordinary communications director just reminded me, it probably would be great to
Oh,
get
I
a
wondered
picture
why you
with
were doing that.
Joseph.
I thought maybe going,
And-
yay!
Yeah,
Yeah,
air
okay.
quotes.
Okay,
no,
so
that's,
we need to
that
do a
means
fast
picture. Maybe we
recess.
do a quick recess so we can take a picture with our ASB.
You guys can leave and go home
students.
and study without your cell phones.
No.
After the recess, after we get the picture taken. Okay, recess. Okay, picture time. I'd like to welcome everyone back from that quick recess to take pictures. And we're now, we have no cards for public comment, so I don't have to read how you need to act when you make a public comment. You should always act nice towards everyone. So now we're on to informational presentations. We're having a public hearing on instructional materials, Education Code Section 60119 requirements. So I have to gavel us out of our regular board meeting and gavel us in to the public hearing. Mrs. Reed?
Thank you so much, President Catulli. Tonight, I'm here to share that we are compliant with Ed Code 60119 and are offering sufficient textbooks and instructional materials. All students have access to materials that are consistent with the content and cycles of the curriculum framework adopted by the California State Board of Education. We do plan to engage in the instructional materials evaluation process to support high school biology and some potential courses at Los Alamitos High School in the social sciences.
Thank you so much. Now, is there anyone who'd like to speak at the public hearing? Okay, seeing no one rushed. Please speak. No, and no one rushed to the podium. I will now close the public hearing and go back into our regular board meeting. Okay, we're now on to the consent items. I am pulling item 12AB. Are there any other pulls? Seeing none, I would take the consent item, which is considered usual and customary in content. So I would consider a motion from consent item 12A through AA, then AC through AI.
So moved.
Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I would like a motion to approve 12AB, which is to utilize the CMAS contract for the gymnasium roofing project at McGaw Elementary School.
Second.
Okay, thank you. The discussion, I pulled it, so I'll go ahead and discuss it. I just wanted to pull it and highlight this, is that with the city of Seal Beach, McGaw has, we don't own the pool belongs to the city, but the gym is used both by the community of Seal Beach and sometimes by the school, the elementary school. It's not used on a regular basis like at the middle schools and the high schools, and so the city of Seal Beach does use it frequently. And when we're doing these repairs, I'm just so happy that we work so well with our communities, also with the city of Los Alamitos. We're going to be discussing the Oak Gym with Los Alamitos. We're in discussions for that right now. But I just kind of wanted to give a shout out to the city for the ease with which we work for them and their cooperation. And Mr. Do we own the pool? We do. We do? We shouldn't.
We have a joint use agreement.
We have a joint use agreement. Thank you. I'm sorry. I did not know. I was misinformed, but that's life. So sorry. And then Mrs. Schnurr, do you want to say anything, add anything into that?
No, just continuing to appreciate the partnership that we have with the city of Los Alamitos. The city
And
of
Seal
Seal
Beach.
Beach, who are continuing to help out with the cost of the repairs that we're doing at the gym.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We're now on to our action item. And the first item is approval of a revised board policy for use of school facilities. And Mrs. Schnurr, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. We are bringing forward a first reading of Board Policy 1330, which is the use of facilities. As the board knows, we do have a fee structure that we implemented a couple years ago for all users of the gymnasium, of all the uses of facilities. So the board policy updates language to reflect the fees that we charge, as well as it adds how we calculated direct cost, where we came up with the fee structure. It also adds that we can use those funds that we generate for the use of facilities to put it in a special fund for capital improvements, which we are going to implement that starting next year. This year, actually, 24-25, we have not done that. But since the board, we have to update the board policy to be able to do that. As well as use of school facility as a polling place, which we have been doing that for the last few years when it's asked for our facilities to be used for elections, we allow the facilities to be used for that purpose. And so this is a first reading. Of course, if the board has any changes, we will make those and bring it back for a second reading.
Okay, so with that explanation, may I have a motion for approval or? Okay. Now, is there any discussion on the policy as presented?
Yes, thank you very much. I had some questions in the census, and I didn't bring it with me, which is terrible. But in the policy itself, it really it broke out specifically religious organizations and how we could charge them. And I just wonder, and I noticed that there was a number after it, which made me believe that it was ed code. But I just wondered if you had any idea why that was behind it. And then just also, I know that about, I'm going to say 11 years ago, we really started to talk about having to create this capital fund for our fields. And I think that the community doesn't necessarily understand that we don't get money from the state to take care of those things. And we just spent over $1 million on our football, on the field at Los Alamitos High School, just redoing the turf, not even building it. And so I really appreciate that we have that in there. And I think that we try to be really conscientious and fair with our numbers, but we have to take care of these assets. So, but that one specific breakout for religious groups, I just wondered.
So the new board policy did pretty much caution school districts to include that language in the board policy. Obviously, we don't have to, but it's just basically to caution us that we are charging religious groups the same amount that we would charge any other group, which we would, of course. And there was a U.S. Supreme Court ruling and state law that does specify that we are supposed to charge religious groups the same amount that we charge any other group. That's basically it.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. I do appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you for that question. Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Now we're on to a resolution for instructional materials funding realignment program. And Mrs. Reed, will you speak to that, please?
Thank you so much, President Gachuli. This was actually attached to the public hearing that we had earlier. Annually, we are asked to come to our community and inform them that we do offer access of all instructional materials to all students and that they're currently aligned to the state board adopted textbook adoption cycle. And so I am here to share that we are compliant in all those areas.
Okay, great. May I have a motion, please?
Also move.
Is there any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Fayette. Aye. Mrs. Davidson. Aye. Ms. Cattouli.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Great. Okay, the next one is a resolution for signatures designated for district personnel and board president. Mrs. Schnur?
Thank you, Madam President. This resolution is basically just to change my last name from Galicia to Schnur.
Congratulations on changing your last name.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. We're just dotting the i's and crossing the t's here. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Okay, any discussion other than congratulations?
Yeah.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Fayette. Aye. Mrs. Davidson. Aye. Ms. Cattouli.
Aye.
Mr. Forehand.
Aye.
Mrs. Hill.
Aye.
Okay, our next item is an adoption of as a resolution for board compensation for missed meeting by Marlis Davidson. Point of information, according to Ed Code, the huge is not huge. I shouldn't say it sarcastically because people don't know. All I can say is I don't know how much I actually make per month. I take home $327, and my husband claims on an hourly wage it's about 75 cents. But the only thing you technically get paid for is an attendance at a board meeting. This board is very good about always trying to be here. I recently missed a board meeting. Mrs. Davidson did. Life happens, and we do the best we can. And in order for them to receive I'm next, so for us to receive the compensation, it does need to be a resolution. So may I have a motion for the first one?
I so move.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Fayette? Mrs. Davidson? Ms. Cattouli?
Aye.
Mr. Forehand? Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Okay, the next item is for me missing a board meeting. May I please have a motion? So moved. Okay, any discussion?
I just want to say that I think people listen to what we do when we do communication and take it, that's what we do here in LaSalle, and kind of take that for granted. And there are a lot of other school boards where they are not doing that on a regular basis by any stretch of the imagination. And we are out there at our sites, visible all the time, and you two women certainly. So I feel very good about this decision.
Me too.
Yeah.
Mr. Fayette? Mrs. Davidson? Ms. Cattouli?
I'm going to vote aye.
Mr.
I mean, I feel that, that's how I feel.
Mr. Forehand? Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Yeah. Mrs. Davidson just wants to look like she's a nicer person than I am. She succeeded. Okay, our next item on action is the approval of a revised job description for food services technician. Dr. Weiss-Wright.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. The revisions to the food services technician job description were approved by the Personnel Commission last month, and they reflect some of the changes that we need to support our food services department.
Okay, may I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, discussion? I just want to make a comment that our whole food services within the state of California for schools are moving towards what they call from scratch cooking. And I think this is such a great idea because obviously pre-prepared food that you just heat usually has a lot more preservatives and salt and sugar and things like that in it.
Yep.
And I just think it's a wonderful idea, but I also know feeding, 1,000 ravenous middle school kids at one time is a challenge, but we need to have different types of workers now to do the different jobs. So I'm personally happy about this. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And now we have a revised job description for maintenance supervisor. Dr. Weiss-Wright.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Similarly, the revisions to the maintenance supervisor reflect changes that were approved at last month's Personnel Commission meeting and some changes to the leadership requirements for that position.
Right. Okay. May I have a motion?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And the next item is our warrants, and the approval of the warrants is basically the checkbook of the school district. And if we have any questions, and I just love it when the warrant questions are asked by more than one person, because it's like, I've never heard of this vendor. And so we have many minds looking at it. So may I have a motion for approval of the warrants as presented?
I'll so move.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. I am now, we're on to our acceptance of the donation. And I want to say that we do have a revised total due to the fact that the computer didn't do what we asked it to the first time, and then somebody caught that it needed to be increased. And so we have our total for the, I think it's correct on the screen when it comes up, of $17,499.24. And school just started. We'd go from July 1st, and we're dark, the board is dark during July. So the fact that we already have almost $17,500 year to date, this community is truly one in a million. And thank you so much. May I have a motion, please?
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We're now on to classified and certificated report. All I can say is that Dr. Weiss-Wright's entire department has been very busy.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. The classified and certificated personnel reports reflect the changes from since our last meeting, and we recommend approval as submitted.
Okay. May I have a motion for both?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I just like, I comment on 20 substitutes. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just fantastic
Oh, yeah.
to get, that's a tough, we need those people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then I'm thinking too, like when we pull teachers out for committees or professional development and so many really good reasons you need to have a good person in there. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. We are now done with what I'm going to call the business part of our meeting. We do have some closed session items that we now need to discuss. So I'm going to close our open meeting, and we're going into closed session at 7:22.
Thank you, Ms. Catulli.
Yeah, okay, I think this is all over here. Yeah, thank you, Jim.